Hello!
Hi!
Welcome to Friday with Friends. Friday with Friends is our opportunity to answer any real estate questions you may have so that if you have any real estate needs, we would love the opportunity to be your realtor of choice.
Yes, we've got a great topic today and something that has come up more recently in the last few years. We are here to explain to you pre-possession and post-possession, what it means and why it might be a really great opportunity for you as a buyer or seller.
We have clients that we start the interview process with and they don't even know this is an option. It is a fabulous strategy. It's a fabulous tool, whether it's making it easier for you or using it as a negotiating tactic to be able to support the other side to maybe get your offer accepted, and it may be more appealing to the other side, and for you it's something that doesn't cost you a thing.
Definitely. And so what does possession mean? Now in real estate you have your closing, which if I'm buying Mandy's house, I take the keys and I am now the owner. But possession is not necessarily who owns the home, but who is able to occupy the property at that specific moment and for what period of time and things like that.
So pre-possession is when prior to me actually owning the home, I'm going to possess the home. I am going to move in to the home. Okay, so that's pre-possession. And then post-possession is I then sell the house to you. You now own the home, but you are letting me stay in the property post-closing. Post-possession, I am able to maintain the property still.
Yes, and a lot of clients, whether they're buyers or sellers, might say, well, that sounds a little questionable, right? There's someone that's now staying in my home and, I might not know them. What does that look like? And so this is really an attorney, side of things, because it is someone living in the home that does not own it. So we do get the attorneys involved on this side of things. And what they'll do is draft an entire addendum to the contract that outlines the rules and regulations and different terms and things like that. The rental side, most of the time you pay a daily rate, which we use the phrase PITI, which is the principal, interest, taxes, and insurance that the owner of the home has to pay for that month. Divided by the days of the month, you pay a daily rate. Now that can be negotiable. Again, if you're trying to win the deal, you might say, hey seller, you can stay in the house for free and we'll just let you stay there until you need to. Or it might be a daily rate. There's also a deposit to ensure that once I end my possession and move out, if there's any broken windows or broken doors or the home is not in the shape that the owner thought it would be, there's then a security deposit to help cover that. So there's lots of checks and balances to make sure that the owner is fully confident and comfortable allowing it to happen.
And there's also a double walkthrough, if you will.
Yes.
And so let's say that I am taking pre-possession of a house. I am doing the walkthrough before I take possession to say I am good with it. There is no, I'm not seeing anything that I didn't expect, because sometimes what can happen is I'm going to not have closed on the property yet, and I take did I say pre? I take pre-possession of the property and I find that that shower doesn't drain the way that I thought it was. Yeah. And certain things that make sure they're just protecting all parties to be able to say, we've looked, we are good, to really make sure that the post-possession, pre-possession works smoothly and everyone is going in with the right expectations.
Yes, and is on the same page about what's next and what is the next step. And that's where that pre-possession, post-possession document is just so important. So if you are working with an agent or an attorney and they don't put that together, make sure you bring that up.
Yes. So we thought the best way to kind of illustrate pre and post possession was to give you 3 examples in situations where we have found pre-possession and post-possession are super valuable, and it has worked really well for our clients so that you can really see real life what we mean and how we use it.
Definitely. So one that we saw a ton within the last year or even the year before that was a lot of our clients were starting to build new homes. The inventory was low and building was a great option. So seller was building a new home and they wanted you to use the funds to help finish their build. But the house wasn't going to be ready. They weren't going to be able to move in for maybe 4 or 6 months. So what we would do is we would list their home, get it under contract, find a buyer that was willing to wait and allow them to rent the home until they closed on their new build. So this could be 4 months, 6 months, things like that. So what we would do is find a buyer, close quickly, allow the sellers to have those funds for their new build, and then the seller would rent back from the new owner they wouldn't have to move twice until their new build was completed and they could move in.
And think about it. We've never been able to ask. Back in the day, you would never be able to say that you could have a 4-month post-possession. 4 months, that's ridiculously long for a seller to be able to stay in the house and for the buyer to be okay with that. But when you are competing with 50 other clients and 50 other buyers, you will be able to find one that is living with mom and dad or that has a lease that isn't up until then, who's willing to say, listen, I just need a house. And at this rate, I'm not going to get a house for 6 months anyway. I would rather secure this house, know it's mine, and then be able to not move in for those few months, but also financially, when you make it so that it's PITI in that proper amount, you're even. You're not losing any money by that process. And maybe that is what actually secured you the house, was as a buyer, your flexibility to let the seller stay.
Definitely. That's huge. So that's situation number one. Situation number two is going to be, let's say a seller currently owns a home and they're looking to purchase a new one, but they don't want to be contingent.
Or maybe they can't be.
Or maybe they can't be. Or maybe they have to be. They have to be contingent.
Thank you. Have to be.
They have to be contingent on selling a home. Now, again, in this market and in the past, it's really difficult to have a contingent offer accepted.
And contingent meaning
you
have to sell your home in order to get the funds to qualify for the next house.
Yep. So basically, in a seller's mind, hey, I'll buy your home, but once I sell my home. So what a lot of people were doing is, okay, let's list our home, let's get it on the market, let's find a buyer that's willing to be flexible with us, give us a few months of rent back. That way we close quickly, we are officially non-contingent, that home is off of our plate, and we can now go being non-contingent in purchasing homes.
Because if, like Abby was saying, you can't be a contingent buyer in this market. So if I was a contingent buyer, I needed to sell my house in order to buy another house, I was completely out of luck, because there was no way any seller is going to accept my offer. So this is where we have people who say, I can't buy my house without selling my house, I'm stuck here. No, you're not. If you go in and you are able to present your home to market with the idea that you are finding someone who's willing to give you a post-possession, and sometimes it's a flexible post-possession. You might say, hey, listen, I might need it for 90 days, but I might also find the house really fast and then could take a pre-possession of the other house and I might not need it as much. So when you have that flexibility as a buyer, you are able to look more appealing, and the seller, you're just asking for what you need and making it happen so that you're not moving twice.
Yeah. And the post-possession and pre-possession is a really good option, because there is a term out there that's called contingent on seller finding suitable housing. And basically what that means is, okay, yes, buyer, you can come in, write an offer on my house, but I might not be able to move out until I can find suitable housing. And that could be in 6 months, it could be a year, it could be 5 years. There's no timeline on it. But buyers actually prefer the post-possession up front, because then they can say, okay, I'm going to give them 6 months, but it's going to be 6 months. And they can have that timing where you're now getting more parties, more buyers that are interested in that versus maybe that open-ended contingency.
Because that's, even in this crazy market, that still was somewhat hard to find. And you also have to think, if you're a buyer going in to give that seller flexibility, you might be 15 grand less than another buyer, and the seller is saying, the fact that I don't have to move twice, that you're being super flexible and you're someone that's willing to work with me, I'm willing to accept less. So you as a buyer, if you are open to the needs of the seller, you may actually save money in that way. If you are offering something that offers ease and flexibility and peace of mind to the seller, that's money to them.
Definitely. And they don't have to move twice, with
that's
potentially
actual money,
their kids and their dog and all of the things, to expensive short-term rental, which there aren't a ton available, and now they don't even have to move twice, and that's just such a value for them financially, but also stress and all of that as well.
And this is why, and we've shared so much about this in our episodes, is all about communicating with what is important to the seller. There are still multiple offers happening right now in the market, and when you as a buyer are putting in an offer, making sure that your agent is saying, what's best for the seller? How can I make my offer so appealing? And when they're like, well, actually a post-possession of a week would make a huge huge difference, or a post-possession of 2 months would make a huge difference, you can then see if you can build that in to make it ideal. But if you're not calling the seller and you have or the listing agent, you have no idea, you're going to be putting in a regular closing date, or maybe even like an aggressive closing date. Like, we can get this closed so fast for you. And the seller's like, that sounds horrible.
Yeah, we actually don't want that.
Exactly.
But you don't know unless you ask.
Yeah, so that's the second situation that is really important that can help you kind of understand why people do post-possession.
Perfect.
And then situation 3, which can be post or pre-possession, but this is what happens most often, is I am a seller and I am buying another house. Well, there's this period of time that, let's say I'm going to close on them in the same time. So let's say maybe I'm not contingent, but I want to use the funds from house number 1 to buy house number 2. I want to close on house number 1 in the morning and then close on house number 2 in the afternoon. Well, during that closing, where is all my stuff?
Yeah.
Where
truck sitting somewhere.
We literally have had people have their stuff like on a moving van driving to their next house, but we work really hard to try to avoid that as much as possible. And this is where the pre-possession and the post-possession comes in. In this situation, I can do one of 2 things. I can, 1, request house number 2, the house that I'm buying. I can say, hey, listen, can I take possession of your house early? Can I take possession of your house the week before, the weekend before, the morning before? Right. Can I take possession of your garage?
We had that a lot.
Any of those situations is a way that you can do a pre-possession that literally can be a matter of hours, or like we were talking about, per diem. It could literally be a certain amount per day just to be able to access that property soon, so that you can clear out your house and so that that buyer, that future buyer to your previous house, can take possession. Or on the other side, you can request when you accept an offer, yes, we would love to accept your offer. However, we would like to stay in the house for that weekend for 3 more days. Or typically we do a week so that we can guarantee a weekend in there. Right. And we'll do it because you might close on a Monday, you might close on a Friday. We're not 100% sure. So we say within 7 days is how long we want to have the opportunity for a post-possession, so that we are staying in the property, so that we can, when we close on our new house, we have time to move things over and we're not kicked out of our own house.
And that's a huge piece, because most times if you own a home, a lot of your cash and a lot of your equity is tied up in that home. So yes, you might be able to non-contingent, get that pre-approval letter at 3.5% with the savings, with your, money in your savings account, but you also have 20 grand in your home, or 50 grand in your home, and you want to use that. So let's go ahead and line those dates up so you can use the funds, bring that money from your new house into your purchase, put more down, not have to pay that,
bridge loan fee,
or what is it called?
What?
With a house when you put less than 20% down.
PMI.
You don't have to pay that because you now have a larger down payment. There's so much that goes into it, but you also don't want to have to stress about moving in one day. So let's line those up together and then allow you that time to move out.
So essentially you are non-contingent, but you would like to use the funds. And that's where this comes in perfectly, and you can do pre and post possession options. And again, if these things are conversations you are having up front, you are represented and you're in great hands. And these are always the conversations that we're having with our clients to make sure that you're saying, okay, I know you're not there yet. I know you're not to closing, but we're already to closing. And we're thinking about these things. Where do we want to build in a pre-possession or a post-possession? And there are clients we've had lined up, and they're like, oh, we cannot give you a pre-possession because that's not going to, all right, well, we have to make sure when we list the house, we get a post-possession or vice versa. So we're always in communication. And when we have both sides where we're helping you sell and we're helping you buy, we're making sure that those conversations are always happening, and it's top of mind the entire way through closing.
Definitely. It's such a huge piece. And when those conversations happen up front, then there's no stress, anxiety, tough conversations later on down the line as we get closer to that closing date.
100%. So how do you think we did? Do you think we explained pre and post possession?
I think so. I love pre and post possession. It's such a great opportunity to alleviate stress on both sides, and hopefully make things much smoother for our clients, especially those that have to buy, sell, build, where the timeline is tough, and this can definitely help.
I love it. So make sure you are having conversations about how pre-possession and post-possession is a strategy and a tool that you can utilize to make your moving situation as seamless as possible.
Yes.
If you have any other questions, always feel free to reach out. We would love to help. But that's what we have going on today with Friday with Friends. Again, Friday with Friends is our opportunity to answer any questions you may have so that if you have any real estate needs, we would love the opportunity to be your realtor of choice. You can find us at friendonyourside.com or anywhere on social media. You can find us pretty easily at Friend Team Real Estate.
Yes. We'll talk with you soon. Bye, guys.